Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Links with Friends. Today is August 6th, and we're doing, was it Business and Security? Business and Security. Weird breakup this week. But we have a new feature this episode based on some of your guys' feedback.
The Links with Friends channel's new, and thank you. And we get super thanks sometimes. So, Coolio Cube 519, thanks for the links. Thank you. And the best news show there is. Oh, well, thank you. And that's from John Clark 6184. So, thank you. If you leave a super thanks, we'll try to read it at some point during the next week. And if you have a question, you can ask it. Or if you don't want us to say it, then just put that as don't say it, but here, have some money. Because I'm fine with you stuffing money in my shirt. It's okay.
You shouldn't say that because you will. Of all the three of us, Wendell's usually the one who's out at events and in public most often, and someone will come up and do that.
A lot of unsolicited hugs.
Yeah.
You can feel around in there a little bit, but only with an open hand. Also, rest in peace, Coolio.
What? Oh yeah.
Remember Coolio?
What was who was it that you said about the insult? What was that? It was funny.
Oh yeah, you can insult me, but if it's on the back of a $10 bill.
That's Wings of Redemption who said that. Yeah,
anyway,
you can insult us too, sure.
Yeah.
$10 minimum.
We're trying. Again, our goal is to try to be relentlessly reasonable. But I mean, good Lord.
Well, Apple is also trying. What are they trying to do? To appease Trump without giving up too much.
That doesn't sound reasonable at all.
That's not reasonable.
They do not want to build iPhones in the United States. That is something that they will not do, I don't think.
Unless it's fully automated.
They'll put designed in the United States on the back of their stuff.
They might put the last screw in the United States.
Yeah.
But they have to do something to make it look like they're helping. And so what they're doing here seems to be hey, let us re-educate all of you how to be good Apple citizens since you're no longer going to have jobs.
Apple opens a manufacturing academy in Detroit as Trump ramps up pressure to invest in the U.S.
This is my favorite picture of the week in this article. It's just, there's nothing there.
I can see that there's very, very little patience left in Tim Cook in that picture.
Also, the guy who's looking straight at the camera. He knows how this looks.
Somebody should make a little cartoon of this with what's on that sheet there is actually a crayon drawing. And Apple is having a good time because it is now earnings season. A lot of the big tech companies have announced their earnings, and Apple had a good one.
Apple reports biggest revenue growth since December 2021. There's a lot of interesting things in here on the finance side if you're kind of interested. Apple also seems to be, and I would add to that, Apple also seems to be allowing some of their retailers like Best Buy to play it a little fast and loose with the pricing. I've noticed that there are a lot of insanely high, uncharacteristically high discounts on the open box Mac stuff. So if you have a Best Buy near you and you have to buy Apple stuff because I don't know why, check the open box stuff because it may be a much deeper discount than historically or characteristically there ever is.
And you also might be getting a deep discount on an Ivy League education because if you're graduating right now, what do you think that's going to do for you? Other than the piece of paper, is it worth anything? Some people are questioning just that.
We're not learning anything. Stanford GSB students sound the alarm over academics. Yeah.
Now, the business school at Stanford is kind of famous for the professors really wanting to do research and seeing teaching as kind of a side project.
This is my side hustle.
Yeah, and they've made quotes to that, leaning toward that. And so a lot of the students are like, hey, we now have access to AI and we can quickly find new things about all of this. And it seems like what you're teaching us is 10 years old, which the computer science education is often the same way.
Yeah.
It doesn't rapidly progress. So you're learning old technology. I guess the fundamentals are there, but
a lot of the CS stuff, you will pick it up a completely different way and have a different appreciation for the academic side of computer science if you are also working through school and applying some of the stuff from classes, which you don't always do depending on what kind of internship you might get. But it's I learned about B trees in this class, and it's well, unless you're really playing with them and doing something interesting, you might not understand the implications for that in a bunch of different contexts.
I will say the arts program I went to was really good about that. It was required to do an internship. And then also, like, they very much emphasized, like, they would help you a little bit with, like, learning some of the tech and stuff, but they're like, these programs are going to change in, like, 5 years, so it's not going to matter. Like, you're just going to have to learn to adapt and teach yourself.
And the rate of change then is nothing compared to the rate of change now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was more, it's focused on, like, the fundamentals of, like, how do you follow a brief and how do you, like, articulate how you're solving the brief, like, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I've never seen the rate of change like it is now. And also the AI tools are basically useless unless you cajole the AI. It's like, hey, AI, I think this is basically a different take on the traveling salesperson problem. We should approach this a different way. And then it's like, oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, we should totally do that. And then it's like, okay, thanks. But if you hadn't done that, it's just going to send you spinning your wheels.
And earnings season was, it shined favorably on the fruit company. Not so much on one of their big competitors.
The Chosun Daily says that Samsung's chip profits plunged 94% despite stable sales. I think this is actually a good thing for Samsung. This is not what Intel did, and Intel is reaping the results of that. Remember all the stock buybacks and dividends and like rebate programs and blah, blah, blah. I think that is a large part of the distress that Intel finds itself in now. Samsung, surely the temptation probably was like, hey, we can just not be leading edge and make more money. But Samsung is not doing that. They're spending a lot of the money toward next generation stuff. And they really need to do that. Like for HBM, they could be printing money hand over fist with HBM if they hadn't made those same mistakes a couple of years ago. The same sort of mistakes that I would sort of characterize Intel as having made in the pre-Pat Gelsinger days. But this, I think, is going to be good for Samsung in the long run. So maybe fortune will favor the bold.
Well, perhaps a measure of your C-suite is how they respond to downturns like that. Like, what do you do? And what do you do in the face of a bankruptcy? Well, here's probably a good idea of what not to do, which is to basically hold your customers hostage.
Futurehome Smart Hub owners must pay new $117 subscription or lose access. This article is required reading for you to then go and read the articles of incorporation for the Home Assistant company, where they've hardened themselves against this type of chicanery, and you should go see that, because every article like this and every article like our next one is just another one for we have to build our own home automation stuff, because this will invariably happen. It doesn't matter what the company is. This will happen.
Also, you don't have to automate everything. There's no reason for this to exist.
Echelon kills smart home equipment offline capabilities with update. You literally can't exercise on an exercise machine unless it can phone home to the cloud.
You can.
No, it says it. They locked it out.
But, it doesn't like track anything. Like the screen won't come on. You can't do the infotainment. You can't sync your app.
I thought you couldn't even set the difficulty level.
Oh, that might be it. I don't know.
Wow.
But yeah, they pretty much just destroyed every. Now, I mean, this exercise bike is the same as an exercise bike a tenth of the price.
Yeah.
If you cut all that stuff out. So, yeah, it makes it useless, basically.
I believe
I could get one on Marketplace for like $80.
I believe that Louis Rossman's company is offering a $20,000 bounty to the first person who cracks this as well. I think this is the one.
They had an open source group, and they were working on it, but they said they hadn't had any luck yet. So,
well, there's money in it for you if you want to figure it out.
get involved.
I think.
You could double check that before you spend some time on it.
Yeah, they'll be hitting us up, and it's like, well, okay, I guess whatever. Maybe we can make some AdSense back on that.
And who can dethrone Nvidia? It doesn't seem like there's anybody, but their closest competitor is definitely Huawei, and they are constantly trying to get new hardware to compete.
Huawei shows off AI computing system to rival Nvidia's top product. And now maybe the story from the government section makes more sense. Dun, 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 dun.
They are getting the full weight of the Chinese government helping them.
It does look like it's surprisingly good, but again, got to go hands-on. Got to see if I can source some forbidden silicon. I've done that before. Long-time viewers will probably remember and know exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, you know what? I should have sorted this with the Samsung story, because they do maybe have a little bit of a lifeline.
Elon Musk confirms Tesla has signed a $16.5 billion chip contract with Samsung Electronics. This is really good. I think Nvidia was also talking about Samsung and it didn't go as well. This is Tesla getting their own AI chips. They want their own designs. They want their own stuff.
But they got to be looking at those Tesla sales numbers.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was a shareholder call. Somebody had asked Elon about that, and he's like, "No, in the grand scheme of things, like Tesla's fun, and I love Tesla. Tesla doesn't matter if we figure out general artificial intelligence."
Well, that makes you feel good if you work at Tesla.
Or if you hold the stock.
Yeah, well, he's like, it's going to lead to whatever. So he thinks Tesla is going to sell their software package or whatever, and they can still make money that way. But it's all about AI. No, don't think about the cars. Think about the AI. Is what he was saying.
He'll spin that off as
Yeah.
the bad company. That's what they always do. And another bad company that he might have to get rid of, which I'm amazed that anybody is still doing business with. They failed every single thing that they tried to do.
I mentioned they've been
Catastrophic.
ghosting other clients too.
It makes no sense.
Elon Musk's boring company to build Tesla tunnels under Nashville, according to this. What is the only place that he's been successful? The Zuckerberg compound? Is that who's building the tunnels out there?
I doubt Zuckerberg would ever tell his secrets to Elon Musk.
Also, how would you get that equipment out there?
I'm sure that's not a problem for billionaires.
The thing I thought was interesting about this, I mean, like, it's privately funded, which is weird, but also, so our land around here is karst land, so there's like caves and stuff. Are there caves under Nashville?
Probably.
Be interesting. What if you drill into one? What if there's a ghost down there and it haunts him for the rest of his days?
Ooh, they might find the silver mines. Jonathan Swift's long-lost silver mines, which are probably not real anyway.
You're going to have to harvest resources and craft until you can get back out.
Well, obviously, yeah. Haven't you played any survival
Come on.
crafters?
That's a tale as old as time. And Cheyenne, Wyoming is maybe not the place that you would think of as a tech hub, but it's going to be.
Cheyenne to host massive AI data center that's going to use more electricity than all the Wyoming homes combined. It do be like that.
Not a very populous place.
It doesn't need to be. The data center is probably going to employ 35 people.
But I'm saying the comparison to all of their homes combined is
Yeah.
pretty sparse. Sounds like a lovely place if not for that data center. And I don't think this is the end. Maybe this is the beginning of the end. The appellate layers are so deep, but this is a big one.
Google loses U.S. appeal over App Store reform in Epic Games case. So they appealed because they didn't want to make changes because they lost.
So if this stands, and again, I don't know if there's another layer or not,
There probably is.
they would have to open up the App Store after this.
I feel like we have been covering this
We have.
ongoing lawsuit
Yeah.
for like years
It
at this
never
stage.
ends.
Yeah.
And Google has certain tools. If you remember in Europe there for a while, they had the right to be forgotten. I think that still exists.
Yep.
And things like that. But how far can you take it? Well, it turns out you can take it as far as you want as long as you figure out a clever way to game that system.
Google tool misused to scrub tech CEO's shady past from search. So
Shady past being domestic violence.
we don't have the right to be forgotten in exactly the same way, but he was using DMCA takedowns to hide stories, and most of the time, nobody ever fights it. And this also erases it from Google search results.
But this was a tool to update a bad link in Google, which they don't require a login for. And they require a login for like everything that you do in Europe, but not for this. And so this guy figured out how to change the case. And when he changed the case, the URL would 404 and the tool would be like, oh, that doesn't exist anymore. Thank you for updating that for me. So he eliminated every bad news story about himself successfully. Pretty clever. Yeah, and this is the pleb version of that. This is what you have to deal with because you're not rich.
Google is using AI age checks to lock down user accounts, or using this as an excuse to make your AdSense profile more complete. Huh.
Yeah.
I've heard some people, like, I'm in like some creative servers and stuff, and people talk about like they write in Google Docs, and they said that their accounts have been shut down.
Yeah, because, this is it. This is age verification. This is what they've been playing toward for a long time. And it's not just happening in Europe and the UK and Australia. They are rolling it out here kind of in a soft way.
It's not even age verification, it's identity verification.
Or, I mean, yeah, it's like, oh, you're writing something I don't like. Or it's flagged for something you don't even know what it is, and it's gone.
Remember also the dissent laws in the UK. Like, there's some crazy stuff coming out of the There's crazy stuff going on here in the US too, but there's some crazy stuff going on in the UK where it's like, oh, you're not allowed to disagree with that.
And that data is valuable. That ad profile is valuable. It's all something that they want more and more of, and it's harder and harder to get. And so now there's going to be this new economy.
JPMorgan requires fintechs to pay for customer data access amid a 1.89 billion monthly requests. This is actually the wrong, like they should not, JPMorgan, this is a rug pull by JPMorgan. They want to make things more terrible for customers. So what they're talking about here is if you're a bank customer and you sign up for an application that you would like to connect to your bank account and pull information, that's what they're complaining about.
And the quant people who are just constantly pulling data to try to make trades on it, they pull from them, stuff like that. So no more free rides when it comes to that.
I think that if I'm a customer of the bank, I should have API access, or at least it should give me some reasonable API limits. I think they're trying to make this like it's unreasonable, but just for the number of customers they have, I don't know that many requests is all that unreasonable. And they may be wanting to set up their own services to do the same kind of thing, like bank account monitoring. It's like, oh, we noticed a charge on your account. It's like, how, unless you query your bank account 10 times a day to know that a credit card charge has gone through, if the bank doesn't give you the tools to do that, that has to be there, but that's not a really terribly expensive API request.
And if you're wondering, why is it in the modern age, considering we know what we know, why do I still get junk mail? Why do I still get these spam phone calls? Why do I get spam text messages?
Why do you get so many?
Why can't somebody do something about this? This seems like a simple thing to solve. Well, here's your answer.
iOS 26 message filtering upsetting fundraising politicians who want to annoy iPhone users. So the playbook here is they get a phone number from the phone company that is not on a list. Like they'll pre-screen numbers. Like this number has never been used, so it's not on any flagged list. The problem is that Apple's stuff is when enough people flag it in short order, everybody else with an iPhone immediately knows that it's also spam. That's the problem here, that as soon as 3 people are like, yeah, this is spam.
You also have the ability to have all unknown numbers go to a new box, which is the unknown box, which means you won't get a notification. It's kind of like your junk folder, but not really. They expect you to go in and like, oh, I do know this person. I'll create a contact. But you're never going to have a contact for the, whoever fundraiser for politicians.
What if you as an individual would like to use your technology and it's like, I choose that, yes, no politician should ever be contacting me unsolicited on my phone. That should go straight to the fire and brimstone area.
The problem with that is that literally every person would do it.
Yeah.
And so they wouldn't get any money.
Is that another data point in that we're not actually living in a free society? That your technology will not allow you to make certain choices like that, which seem like the obvious and correct choice that an individual should be allowed to make?
Well, we haven't lived in a free society for a very long time. But maybe, if you wanted to, you could make up a story that you did live in a free society, and now you could even make a TV show out of that.
Amazon's Alexa Fund invests in Netflix of AI startup Fable, which launches a showrunner, a tool for user-directed TV shows.
This is going to be shut down in like 2 weeks.
So this is different. Like when I first read this, I sort of had to dig into it a little bit more. You, as an individual, can create a show, and it's just, a series of prompts and other stuff, but then you can share that with other people. So this is like a meme platform. I think this will be successful as a vehicle for people making memes and sharing memes. And
they're talking about wanting to license like Disney characters and stuff. The first second that someone generates something,
yeah,
I can't say because we will be demonetized.
It's Rule 34.
Yeah, as soon as we get one Rule 34 prompt on there, that's getting axed, and then the money making's not there anymore.
Think about this though, because they give you the ability to scan a picture and put yourself in the TV show.
Yeah.
Which means that I could put you in my TV show without your permission.
Right.
So when are we going to get that?
There's a whole host of legal issues that like no one has thought about, or if someone's raised their hand at that meeting and was like, what's going to happen when Disney sues us because their character got put in Rule 34?
We're going to put Sean Bean in from Death Stranding, and I think it's going to be fun. That's foreshadowing for another story.
He's not in that.
Oh, no, who is it?
It's Norman Reedus.
Norman Reedus. Yeah.
Oh.
You're
Okay.
behind the times. They do look similar, though, don't they? And why do we know that that kind of content is going to be where this goes? It's because everything goes to that kind of content. And if you've been looking at the Steam page lately without those filters on, my God, was there a lot of it? Was a lot of it, not anymore.
The Polygon headline is Visa and MasterCard are getting overwhelmed by gamer fury over censorship. This is a follow-up to the story we reported on last week about Steam is taking down certain games because of pressure from the payment processor, but Visa and MasterCard are saying, oh, it's not us, it's actually an intermediary. But really, it probably was. Like, they're not, their hands are not clean.
Well, this was, you remember Focus on the Family?
Yeah.
This is that kind of thing. There are activist groups who are out there making a lot of noise about this stuff.
Why can't we get an activist group making a lot of noise about the whole Aaron Schwartz versus author guild thing? Like, that is where our energy should be spent. It's like, this is a ridiculous double standard. In like, it's not even a 2-tier system. It's like 37 tiers, and most of us watching this program are in like the bottom 5%.
Yeah, we kind of already covered this one, but we talked about, just the fact that they were doing it, but the numbers are insane. Immediately, all of the top downloaded things on the Apple Store and the Play Store were VPNs in the UK, strangely enough.
Use of VPN surges in the UK as new online safety rules kick in. Would this, if you were a politician and thought of yourself as a servant of the people, would you not look at this and say, wow, an astonishing number of people don't seem to agree with the policy or how we have implemented it and are taking steps to work around it because that is the least headache way for them to address it. Surely then the will of the people is that we don't do this in this way.
No, those aren't the good people. Those are the ne'er-do-wells.
Those are the people that are going on the list to be re-educated. Yes, I think this is the problem.
But, it's not. It's everybody. But there are actually people who are horrible, who should be maybe corralled to certain spaces. This guy might be one of them.
Call of Duty maker goes to war with parasitic cheat developers in LA federal court.
So this guy is the one that figured out they built in a system where it would auto kick you if certain things happen because of the language filters. I think it was the language filters. And this guy figured out how to take over your chat and force you to say bad things and get you out of the game immediately. But now he's branched out. He says, okay, they sued him and he's like, all right, you know what? I'm just going to open source this. I don't care about this anymore. Now he's doing wall hacks and stuff.
The idea of having to explain that to a judge tickles me.
Yeah, that's hilarious. But also the sadness of you're never really going to get justice because the judge is at some point it's just going to be their eyes are going to glaze over.
Yeah, it's like, well, my son plays Call of Duty, I think. But
what are these nerds talking about? And Microsoft, we learned last week that they were playing some games with their file formats, and it seemed like they were doing that maliciously to prevent the open source alternatives from actually succeeding. Maybe another data point here.
TechSpot's headline is Microsoft suddenly bans LibreOffice developers account and blocks appeal. This is a Hotmail address that they've had apparently since time immemorial, and that customer service, they banned him. And in order to appeal, you have to log in, and he can't log in because his account has been blocked.
Now, the TechSpot editor here, I don't know if this was carrying water or sweeping or whatever, but they're like, I want to make a note that this exact same thing happened to me just because Microsoft sign-in is terrible. So maybe it's just that.
It is indeed terrible.
Oh, Telegraph.
wow, this is an aggressive paywall.
Yeah, they're doing that half a page. And yes, so we've all, I don't know if we all have. Well, Wendell doesn't listen to music. But I gave in the convenience got me. I don't have any of my own music anymore.
I have a few CDs, but I don't buy them very frequently.
I used to have a
anymore.
digital collection.
They're going to introduce you to the wonders of having an AI agent that's scouring the internet and collecting all your stuff.
But the bit rates were low, and I listened to a lot of new music, and so I was like, okay, I'll do it. But now we see the horrible, horrible thing that can happen.
Spotify threatens to delete accounts that fail age verification. Yeah, this is the world that we're headed toward.
If you're a paying customer, Doesn't just having the credit card in there, doesn't that count like as?
Well, your parents could give you.
No,
Guess,
the dark
yeah.
future we're headed toward is like your ISP will collect money from you, but it's actually going to be in your ISP's interest to try to verify your account or whatever, because the more onerous they make it for you to actually use the thing that you're paying for, the better their margins are going to be.
And remember, this is a music/podcast platform. This is just about you hearing words that you shouldn't. These are just sounds that might hit your ears that they think should not. You know what makes me furious is on Spotify when I search for a song and they return the edited version first. I don't want to hear that. Why would anybody want a lesser version?
I would like to read some Charles Dickens without all of the words, please.
And Sony has taken a page out of Nintendo's book, and they've decided that once they have come up with some sort of game mechanic, it's theirs forever.
Sony sues Tencent for allegedly ripping off Horizon video games. No,
I had to look it up on a different article. It's like, because this didn't have a lot of pictures in it, or at least the one I didn't. This particular one didn't. There's another one that does, and I have to admit, they do look very similar, like,
I like
remarkably similar.
But I like that the Chinese one is she's chubby.
Well, the Chinese one, she's like, the big eyes and like way younger, like kind of made up with makeup and everything, and it's like, okay.
But they apparently copied all the game mechanics and even the environments.
Well, yeah, like the robots, like the enemies in that game.
But what about Pal World?
Yeah.
We defended them.
they're doing okay against mighty Nintendo.
Power World was
so
more
far.
like the mechanic, though, and less the actual designs of the things. Like, I can't think of anything that looked like Pikachu. We have a funny story about Pikachu later.
Think about the history of video games if no one was allowed to copy
it.
Wolfenstein.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was more the art direction that looked stunningly similar. That was the article I read focused on that.
Well, a lot of weird things happened in the past 5 years, and some of them created empires that maybe couldn't have existed in more normal times. But also, we have to harken back to the .com era, because if you recall, what was the baby website and pets.com?
Oh, the baby website story was dark though, because turns out it was Amazon, and like that was really
The baby website?
that was like some billionaires
diapers.com or something.
subterfuge. Like that's insane.
But that they reached valuations that were just absurd. And I feel like we might be touching that again.
San Francisco tech company once worth $650 million files for bankruptcy. This is WAG. This is like, think of it as like Uber Eats, but finding for somebody to walk your dogs.
How do people do that? Like, look at all the dogs that woman's handling.
But they don't anymore.
Well, it's currently. I mean, it said it's currently valued at $6 million. I feel like that we could build a WAG.com competitor. And like $6 million would be a perfectly reasonable amount of revenue for that enterprise.
App, yeah.
What about insurance, though? What if they're walking your dog and it gets hit by a car?
But aren't you you're a third party who's connecting to other parties? Like,
I'm sure we can find an underwriter that would handle that, even for relatively paltry $6 million revenue stream.
Then there would be so much insurance fraud. Hey, you're telling me I can get a dog for $20 and I can get a payment for $2,000?
Maybe that's what happened to WAG and they didn't talk about it in the article.
And it's been another week, which means that we have more cyber attacks and more data.
Insurance Giant says most U.S. customer data is stolen in cyber attack. It was 125 million people got all of their information. Is that correct? That's insane.
This was a third-party support company, got social engineered. Tale as old as time. And another common thing is, I've been wondering, you ever see these people on the internet who are famous for losing a lot of money at gambling? Like they'll live stream gambling.
that's apparently like a really big thing in the live streaming space. Is like you watch them to win, but you also kind of want to watch them to fail.
Some of that is sponsored.
But yeah, so here's my thinking. Because if you watch them, they get a bunch of winnings and they keep pushing it.
Yeah.
Like you'll see one guy, he's like, I got 70K, and then he goes and he loses it all. I think the design is, like you're thinking, hey, I'm a reasonable. I'll get to the 70K and I'll leave. But the 70K is fake, right?
Yeah.
Guy. So this is just a more direct approach to that, I guess.
The Krebs on the security headline is Scammers Unleash Flood of Slick Online Gaming Sites. So it's like, here is your. I was like, oh, it's Mr. Beast Gaming. It actually is not affiliated with Mr. Beast at all. Here's $2,500. You can go and play and whatever. But then when you try to withdraw, it's like, oh, you need to verify it. And then that's when they ask for a small amount of money. And that's when you're never going to see your money again. And it's mostly crypto related. But this, apparently there's like 1,500 of these gaming sites. Like they've created an entire system and support. And like, it seems legit. And it's very well put together. But it is actually fake AF.
And after they scam you and you're angry about being scammed, they'll sell your information to other scammers who will contact you and be like, hey, I help people who get scammed by these casinos.
Wow.
Pay me and I'll get you your $2,500.
Just getting hit all the way down the tree.
Yeah, really. Which at that point, if you get burned twice like that, maybe don't be on the internet so much. And this one is a little bit easier to fall to, although this still is a phishing attack. And if you are paranoid enough, you will be able to avoid it.
Experts have detected a multi-layer redirect tactic used to steal Microsoft 365 login credentials. This comes from people that have inserted third-party anti-spam and email control systems in their mail flow. What was one of them?
Proofpoint.
Proofpoint, yeah. So if you, like Proofpoint, like Office 365 has its own way to do message controls, but the old way is that it would be your first MX, like you would have Barracuda or Proofpoint or whatever, and then that would forward to Office 365. These scammers are taking advantage of that situation in order to forge messages, steal links, rewrite links, etc., and that's how they can steal your Office 365 account. So if you still think that something like Proofpoint is doing you any good, you are wrong, and you should do away with that and do it the proper way through Office 365.
And T. Yeah, they're back in the news, and it's exactly what you thought it was about. They've been hacked again.
T-App disables direct messages after second data breach exposed over 1 million private messages. Good Lord.
So now they have your face, your history of all the stuff all the tea you've been spilling, and the message you've been sending to the other gals spilling said tea.
If you're not read in on the T-hack from last week, you should watch last week's episode.
And calling in the National Guard, you think that would happen if there was like a riot maybe or a horrible fire, some sort of natural disaster? But no, the National Guard also has a cyber unit.
Minnesota activates the National Guard after St. Paul cyber attack because apparently it shut down the city so bad the traffic lights are no longer working.
I'm imagining a scenario where like they're just like a bunch of guys in fatigues running and they just start hammering all the computers and the servers.
Toss them in the streets.
Yeah.
This is weird. This state seems like it almost seems like there's some sort of directed attack going on in this state, doesn't it? Because this is also the state that had some, like somebody shot some of the politicians and there was some other stuff going on other than this.
Well, it was also the riots, remember?
Oh, yeah.
They get wild up there. And that was not the only big high-profile cyber attack. Also in Russia, although it's not as much of a mystery who did this one.
Cyber attack in Russia airline Aeroflot causes the cancellation of more than 100 flights.
So the Ukraine Belarusian hackers immediately took credit for it. And they said, we'll do it again.
It was all those flights to North Korea for vacation.
They got beaches there.
They got that one.
Yeah, that resort.
And this should terrify all of us because these people are getting better and better at getting into the banking system.
In search of riches, hackers planted a 4G-enabled Raspberry Pi in a bank network so that they could maybe convince the ATMs to give them money or just learn more about how stuff works or whatever.
So they got it in there. How do you get that physical access, right? That has to be, I want that story. But they got it on the same network switch as the security module. And they were able to really probe a lot of stuff in there. They caught it because it was using the 4G to call home.
Well, it's good though. I mean, it seems like it would be easier to catch if it was using like the bank's customer Wi-Fi to call home. It's like 4G seems like that would fly a little bit more under the radar. But banks have stuff to detect that kind of thing now, which is interesting.
And I don't know about you guys, but I love to roam nude in my own yard. And
As you do, yeah.
I have a right
You're going to get a tick in an undescribable place.
It's gonna be bad. Did you see Justin Timberlake's got Lyme disease?
Not only him, but they pointed out a bunch of celebrities.
Yeah.
I think Avril Lavigne has it.
But I've heard there's like a dip. So there's like Lyme disease, like as we know it, like just normal Lyme. But then there's like some sort of
Mine was a mutant version.
yeah, but there's like also like a version that's like I guess kind of a quackery that's like common in Hollywood circles. So they sell you a bunch of supplements and stuff and be like, oh, this will cure it, but it never like really cures it.
But they claim they have like joint pain and all the symptoms. Is that just
Yeah, I don't know.
just in their head?
I don't know. I was reading a thread about it and was fascinated because I was like, oh, I don't know. Now I don't know how to feel about it.
I didn't have joint pain, but I did have the fatigue. And,
Oh, yeah, you had the terrible stomach thing, too, where you couldn't eat certain meat.
they also had to get my red blood cell production under control, which turns out is just they just take your blood. Like, good luck, because it's like you're producing red blood cells at an ungodly rate.
They donate that blood?
Yeah, you can, as long as
Wait a
you're
minute.
not on a bunch of drugs.
Oh, yeah.
I guess it wouldn't be like a bloodborne disease. Anyway,
It was a tangent. Anyway, way tangent.
unrelated to this, this guy he took on risks other than ticks. Also, his privacy was at risk.
Man awarded $12,500 after Google Street View camera captured him naked in his yard in Argentina. It was a backside view, but Google Street View, And this also talks about another incident where the Google Street View car went on a private driveway, but those people were only awarded $1.
So he said, hey, I have a privacy fence, and your Google camera was high enough to get over that. And Google's argument was, your fence wasn't high enough. Oh, man. Some of those lawyers, the arguments they come up with are so good. And the age verification, one thing I can say that we perfectly predicted is that it doesn't work. It's stupid. The technology is not there. And luckily for you,
the technology can work if it's wildly invasive. So, that's kind of the point.
but they half-assed it.
Well,
Brits can get around Discord's age verification thanks to Death Stranding's photo mode, bypassing the measure introduced with the UK Online Safety Act. We tried it and it works. Thanks, Kojima. We've also got a preview of a nonsense story, which is there's at least one British citizen that's so tattooed this is his only option.
So I guess, it's like a fun thing in this game. You can get this otter helmet. And this guy had the otter helmet on his save game, and he was like, I don't want to give up the otter helmet. So they're like, well, let's try it with it. And it still worked. Still got him past the age verification.
it's funny because I would think, like, a child would be more likely to wear. But
True. And we've known that for a long time, if someone flags you for saying things in an online game, it will go back and like it's got a hash or a little cache of all the voice chat so they can review it. And Marvel Rivals has said, no, we're taking it to the full extent.
Marvel Rivals will now automatically record all in-game voice chats to shield the community, quote-unquote, from toxic behavior, which will set an unrealistic expectation that we're going to have an AI cyber nanny with us at all times to check all of our behavior, which is definitely not Orwellian and dystopian.
how long do they keep that record, I wonder?
It's a good question. And I don't know what the player base is for this game, but considering what we know about data centers and how much water they consume,
Yeah.
how much water are we evaporating into the atmosphere in order to do this stupidity?
Let's think of a less onerous way of dealing, like having this kind of situation. Let's suppose that in the game there is snowflake mode, and you turn snowflake mode on, and instead of policing the chat, you just no longer hear from real people, and the AI translates whatever other people are saying into whatever level of snowflake you are.
Overwatch did that. Overwatch 1 did that. So, like, they had such a problem with people writing GGEZ after games that if you typed GGEZ, it would automatically replace it with something like, I'm trying really hard to be a better person right now. Thank you for playing with me. Like,
But string replacement is much simpler than what he's describing,
Yeah.
which would consume infinitely more water.
it was really funny, though. Like, it actually made GGEZ funny.
It would consume infinitely more water, but I feel like our soul, like the soul of humanity, will be more intact versus this other option.
You know what could be used that would consume no extra water? Parenting.
Yeah.
Well,
Or
let's
just you can turn the chat off in most games if you really don't want to hear it.
We just need to build the Vulcan re-education pods and just let the AI go full tilt parenting. Like if this is the world that we're heading into, just let the AI do all the parenting. Like just abdicate all of your responsibility. Fine.
We're probably headed that way. Because remember, the AI can't be held responsible. Waymo's not responsible. That doesn't matter. All right. Well, that's the last story for this episode. We have one more episode this week. We will see you guys in that one.
And so much nonsense.